Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and today I am joined by Jeremiah from the Take the Ring YouTube channel, which if you have not heard of, this is what I want you to do right now. I want you to pause this video because you can come right back to it. Open up a new tab or go to YouTube and type in Take the Ring and subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's only like 6 or 7 videos on there at the moment. I'm sure more will be coming. But this is a channel you need to be subscribed to if you are a Twin Peaks fan. All right. Now, once you're done subscribing there, I want you to come back and watch this video. Okay. Jeremiah, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So your channel was started up in June of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Why so late after season 3 of Twin Peaks?
Well, first of all, I tend to ramble, so please interrupt me. But the long story short is, season 3 got over, and I'm like most people where you don't have a lot of friends necessarily that are into Twin Peaks. And so I just had this idea, I've been a fan for probably 23 years at this point. I didn't watch it when it was on. I was kind of young, but anyway, so I have all these thoughts and theories that I've had for years and years, and season 3 got over, and then Final Dossier came out. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to start a podcast or something and just get my thoughts down. And then so after the Final Dossier came out, I became serious about it, and I started writing and putting together ideas and names and logos and outlining what I want to talk about, blah, blah, blah. And so I started ripping the footage and organizing stuff and putting assets together and all that. And then it was like May-ish, the Split Screens Festival by Matt Zoller Seitz was coming out, and he put out a feeler like, hey, does anybody have any Twin Peaks theories or, whatever? And, taking submissions for the festival. And I was like, oh, perfect. This is it's a deadline, and this will force me to make some decisions, how I want to do this. And his thing was had to be, less, 12 minutes or less, something like that. So, I basically, by default, my first episode was going to be the Ring, the Owl Cave Ring. But then he came out with this thing. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to put together a theory on what's going on in season 3. And so I just did it and submitted it, and he loved it. And so I went to New York in June and premiered it at the Split Screens Festival, and then I put it up on YouTube that day. And then literally the day I got back, it was all finished writing the next episode, start edit and all that stuff. So
how long did it take you to make that introductory episode about Judy?
I did that super fast. So I did that in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most. I tweaked some stuff, once I submitted it, and then they were like, oh yeah, we want this. And then I tweaked it a little bit, but that's why it's kind of loosely based on the David Arbach unified theory. I don't know. So kind of want to talk about that at some point, about the Judy thing. So I think some people saw that video and okay, this guy believes this and only this, and okay, now he's making videos, so he's going to write all of his videos to fit this one specific theory. And just want to people watching, that's not the case. That's one of many theories that I like about season 3, and that one really gets into the narrative. And I was kind of feeling the same way about a lot of things. And then he put this theory out there that kind of made me think about the sex magic stuff. And if something happened at the end of the show, what can you reasonably deduce that might be going on, kind of thing. So I guess I'll use this platform. I was going to keep this a secret, but also in the works, besides new episodes, is I'm going to be doing a Talk About Judy 2 that's going to talk about some other theories and kind of sum up everything I just told you as well. So the Talk About Judy videos will be kind of exclusively season 3 grand theories, but then my episodes that I'm doing, I'm picking like specific topics and characters and things and trying to flesh all that out as best as I can.
Well, the Judy concept has obviously changed over time. I mean, the original plan was to be Josie's sister.
Right.
Right. So, so one thing that I've been saying lately is that if anything else, like there's a lot of people that love season 3. There's a lot of people who like season 3 up into a certain point, and there's a lot of people who really didn't like season 3 at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I maintain that season 3 is quality, if for this only reason. I think obviously there's many reasons, but if not this one reason, it completely makes Fire Walk With Me part of the continuity.
Yes.
Because I know it, people love Fire Walk With Me now, but back in the day, it was not liked at all. And it was really not liked by Twin Peaks fans.
I remember.
and one of the main reasons is that, like, you got this alcove ring, the Tremans are now the Chalfonts, right? You have Chet Desmond instead of Dale Cooper investigating Teresa Banks' murder, which was shown in Cooper's diary. There were just a lot of things that Fire Walk With Me kind of was the flip opposite of, right? Of what we were told. But in true David Lynch fashion, I think in a way it was done on purpose, because you don't have a character named Chet Desmond CD when it was supposed to be Dale Cooper DC.
Right.
Like for instance, in the high school in Fire Walk With Me, the picture that's in the homecoming class case is the picture that was in the Palmer house, and the one in the Palmer house is the one that was the homecoming picture. Now, you don't make mistakes like that. I mean, maybe you can, right? A continuity person could maybe make a mistake. But when there's so many of those in Fire Walk With Me, of things that are flipped from the series, you have to begin to assume that we're in some sort of different reality or a flipped inverse of things, right?
Yeah, of course.
Do you feel that way? Or
yeah.
How do you feel about Fire Walk With Me? Because like you said, I was watching your episode about the ring, and it was like the movie seems very confused as to how the ring is utilized, right? Laura don't take the ring,
right?
And then she takes the ring, and then you don't. Okay, and then you find out that they added that shot of the ring being tossed into the train car after they finished filming the movie, so that wasn't even part of the script.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So her wearing the ring at the end of the movie it's not even in the script. That was filmed after the fact. So the movie seems at first look confused about what is this alcove ring stuff. Season 3, I think, as you justly say in your video, brings a coherency to it.
Yes.
So like I say, if anything season 3 does is it puts Fire Walk With Me into a proper context. One of my co-hosts, Hal, likes to say that Fire Walk With Me for the longest time was good, if not great, but it left a bad taste in people's mouth because it was the last thing that we were going to see. It introduced all these new things. It didn't really explore it. And it told us pretty much everything we already knew anyway. So it just seemed like, why is this here? and sometimes, and season 3 makes it so that Fire Walk With Me is literally a bridge to season 3. And I think that, and sometimes they say, if you want to compare something, make something else. Right. And so I think season 3 brings out the positivities of Fire Walk With Me much more than when it just came out by itself. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think a couple things about Fire Walk With Me. In my videos, at least these first 3 episodes and probably the next few, I don't know if you've noticed yet or not, but I'm constantly comparing the original show to and Fire Walk With Me. So I talk a little bit about the return in these early episodes, but it's usually just kind of like references. I'm really kind of trying to break down what the original show was about and what Fire Walk With Me is about. And so the same way that I view the return as like a twisted mirror of the original show. And then, but Fire Walk with Me at the time was kind of the same thing. So you had this, it was kind of the same thing. There's a flip side to the original show. So it was dark and extremely violent, and you know, there were constantly being our expectations of the original show are being challenged all the time. So you, like you said, Chet Desmond instead of Dale Cooper. You had Deer Meadow instead of Twin Peaks. You had the is it Hap's Diner instead of the Double R. But basically, everything is everything in Fire Walk with Me is a flip of the original show, and then everything in The Return is kind of a flip of the original show also. So it's just everything fits in the Lynch, like the duality. There's constant themes of duality in everything. And I remember being young watching Fire Walk with Me, being completely lost. Like it's funny. It's like the Owl Cave Ring, all the stuff you just said. I basically, you know, agree with or on similar page with. But I mean, this was like years of watching the show and then watching the movie and coming up with something new. And this was all probably like you. I know you said you watched it as it came out.
Right.
I was like a couple years too young. Not even really too young. Just didn't like know about it. I was watching Star Trek Next Gen and stuff like that. Yeah, but I was like 10 when the first show came out. So,
sure.
But by the time I was 15, I had seen Blue Velvet, and I was turned on to all this cool music, and I was into Nine Inch Nails. But I mean, I've seen the original show multiple times. I mean, countless times. And same with Fire Walk with Me. And it was like, I never really knew what The Ring was. And then, and then with the third season, it's like, if Laura put the ring on and then all of a sudden she's in the Red Room, then that's obviously some sort of like vessel or some sort of transportation thing that at least her spirit or soul or whatever went in there. And then, then in season 3, everything's obvious. Like, puts the ring on Ray Monroe, and his spirit, you know, his body stays there, but he ends up and the ring goes back. And so it's like, oh, okay, like definitely having season 3 has helped me contextualize all of this stuff, and it's one of the reasons I'm even able to.
I think that part with the Ray Monroe, right, being putting the ring on and him being in the Black Lodge, I always felt that was like a Mark Frost touch. Like, okay, now the literary part of me is going to make this make sense as much as possible, because I think that one of the things that he set for himself as a challenge as a writer was take something, Fire Walk with Me, that he had nothing to do with,
right?
And Lynch had thrown all these new concepts out there, you know, to, you know, kind of bring some sort of, like I said, continuity to it. And I think that in that respect, I think that they did a really good job. And it's not the things that it makes sense in Fire Walk with Me. It's just things seemed a little bit more muffled because we weren't getting any more context about it, you know. But now we have context about it, so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, let's discuss. I mean, like, okay, first of all, you say that, you know, you got really into music and all that, right? What was your response to the lack of music in season 3? That would be a good video for you to do.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of. I was okay with it. I mean, I was shocked at first because it was like, man, this just seems so desolate, you know. And then, but I really just think they were doing something different. Well, there's multiple. The problem with talking about this stupid show is everything's got multiple prongs, right? So it's like, well, they're trying to do something different, but there's also a lot heavier use of ambient noise and sound design. You know, the Monica Bellucci Dream, like that machine crank sound, and you've got, you know, and these like more like high strings and so I appreciated that, you know. And then the part of me that like misses the old music, like I think I don't hear people admit this too often, or maybe they don't. I don't know, but there's a huge. I think season 3 is like them. They're kind of trolling the audience a little bit, and I don't mean trolling like to be mean, but like there's the whole you can't go home again theme, right? Like,
oh, that's completely there.
You can't go home again. You're not going to have Dale Cooper eating cherry pie in the Double R diner. And I know that hurts, but that's how life is. You're just going to have to deal with it. But, you know, when they do use the music, it's great. You know, My Prayer with the Woodsman and the radio station. And you got the Otis Redding song in the Double R. It's like the greatest scene of all time.
I mean, the music they use is great. And I'm not, it's just, It was definitely a conscious choice. It wasn't like, oh, they forgot to put the music in it.
Right.
You know, and not so much like, oh, why didn't they use the old themes again? But what I'm interested in is the lack of music. I mean, you know, Badalamenti was there composing other stuff. I mean the music they use over the end credits of episode 18. I mean, that's a Badalamenti classic right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The stuff that he did do. And even the Johnny Jewel stuff, like I just think it's great. I think it's amazing. Like it fit perfectly, and you know, the golden orb theme, the fireman theme, that final like lament to our heroes or whatever at the end is just gorgeous. And I mean, I could talk about Badalamenti for hours. I mean, it's another one of those like. It's super intuitive. It's really simple, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's like the simplest stuff. Like right. The theme from Mulholland Drive is the same thing. It's just like 3 notes or something, just like, but it works and it's perfect, and I love it. So
yeah, you know, you talk about you know, different incarnations of Twin Peaks. You know, I agree. I mean, looking back, season 1 is very different than season 2, even though it connects. I mean, season 2 begins with a giant materializing out of thin air.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't see anything like that in season 1. I mean, in season 1, we literally see Dale Cooper going to bed and then having a dream.
Right.
By the time season 3 rolls around, we're all inside a dream, and we never even know where we are half the time. What year is it, right? So, in a way, I mean, the show has gone from telling us exactly where we are to not knowing where we are at all. So, and it's just gotten progressively more, I mean, dare I say, complex as each new incarnation comes out. Season 2, I think, is more complex than season 1, which is Fire Walk With Me is much more complex. Sound design more complex. I mean, with Laura even running down the stairs after discovering Bob's ripped her diary pages, you hear the diary pages being ripped out. You see her running down the stairs with that, you know, sound and all that. That wasn't ever in the series. And then the books come out, and that's another thing. And then season 3 comes out, and that's a whole other thing. So it's like every time we go back to the world of Twin Peaks, we have to almost reinterpret the material, not only of what we're seeing now, but what we saw before.
Yeah.
One of the things you touch on in your Judy video is the whole thing that, you know, that Gordon Cole and Agent Cooper, Major Briggs, you know, they made this secret plan off screen. And yet when you go back to the original series, you think, well, that's impossible, because Gordon was only there for 1 day, and he spent the whole time macking on Shelley.
Right.
You know,
right.
And Dale Cooper was, you know, hanging out with Annie or trying to find Wyndham Earl. There was no, because if they obviously had this plan, then Cooper would have run into that red room, you know, trying to save Annie, but also looking for Judy. You know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's this idea of revisionist history over and over again, but there seems to be just it almost seems methodical. Like we know this is ludicrous, but just go with it.
Yeah, and I think that in the Philip Jeffries video, I talk about the revisionist nature of it. So I mean, that's one of the things that it's like fascinates me, and why I like the show is I like being perpetually confused. But no, I'm just kidding. These things all exist. The original season, the Laura Palmer book, the Secret History books, the season 3 Fire Walk with Me, like they're all their own thing. And so like there's no canon, right? So it's either all canon or none of it's canon or whatever. Like I don't even use that word, especially in reference to Twin Peaks.
I don't think you can say it's canon because I mean Laura Palmer's diary isn't at all what happens in Fire Walk with Me. In fact, Jennifer Lynch told me her dad didn't even read the book. So I said, well, when you found out they were doing Fire Walk with Me, were you thinking, cool, they're going to do maybe some adaptation of the book? She goes, no, my dad never read the book. So
crazy, yeah.
So I mean, he doesn't want to get thoughts from other people, basically, with this material.
Right, and I think it's I like how there are inconsistencies between the original season and Fire Walk with Me, and then then the Secret History book comes out and there's all that stuff, and then we get introduced to new timelines and stuff, and which in effect it's kind of like they wrote in a way to explain the so
right.
Some of them are real screw ups, like little details that they Albert Rosenfield in the first season says, Hawk found the bloody towel a half mile from the crime.
Right.
Second season, when they're recapping that, he says it was 5 miles from the crime site. So there's there are legit TV serial writing errors, continuity errors.
Right.
Then there's like the nature of David Lynch, who's like, yeah, Fire Walk with Me, like this is my own story. I'm not going to read the books. I'm just going to do my thing. So they're all they're legitimate inconsistencies. They're inconsistencies because David Lynch is David Lynch, and then there's Mark Frost with his books,
right?
And then the timelines in the third season. So now we just have all kinds of inconsistencies, and that's part of the fun of it is trying to reconcile that stuff in your own mind, But
I think that's the key thing that you say though is you reconciling it in your brain, because it is a personal thing, and that's why I'm always Mr. C. Oh my. This is probably one of the most awkward interviews I've ever done. So thank you so much for being so patient with me. But I think I've always said that Twin Peaks is sort of like, in terms of cinema, has there ever been anything close to religion? Because it's basically what you interpret it as, because even the creators don't even quite know sometimes.
Right.
I mean, David Lynch most of the time goes off of feeling. I mean, it's intuitive, and yet when you work on an intuitive level, yes, things still connect, but it's not like he's sitting there consciously going, well, this will connect to this, will connect to this. I think it just naturally comes out. And Mr. C here apparently he's been patterning Sarah Palmer as Judy with these noises lately. They scare the heck out of me. He either sounds like that or like the girl in The Grudge. Well, if Bob is looking for Judy, then that's ridiculous, because Bob was married to Judy for, however long, Leland and Sarah were married, And my argument to that is Sarah wasn't Judy then. I mean, to me, it seems pretty obvious that Judy escapes from the glass box and the bug is inside Sarah. The bug is like a beacon and Judy just takes Sarah over, like she knows where to go. And if Bob is the evil that men do, then Judy is obviously like some sort of thing of like somebody who is like dealing with the pain and loss of everything, right? I mean, like I've said this before, but like David Lynch talks about the mom in Wild at Heart as she's dying inside, So I look at Twin Peaks season 3 and I go, okay, the doppelganger's out there. The whole world seems to be dying inside. Twin Peaks is like falling apart. It's decrepit. Everybody's on drugs. Everyone's poor, living in mobile homes, and Sarah's just falling more and more into withdrawal, of pain and loss, and Garmonbozia basically. So it just seems like Judy took Sarah over only in season 3. It's not that I don't feel like Judy was in Sarah the entire time of season 1 and 2 and Fire Walk with Me.
I basically agree with you for the most part. Like, as far as Bob trying to get back to Judy, that's definitely there in subtext, and then there's the final dossier, obviously, and Mr. C is after Judy, but we don't know, is that a function of Bob being inside him or he's just power hungry? I always took it as like he wants this thing. He wants Judy inside him too, or instead of Bob, or who knows? Who knows? But
we never.
I agree. I don't think that Judy was inside Sarah, in the original show and in Fire Walk with Me. But at the same time, there's all it's the metaphorical stuff, right? So the Bob being the evil that men do, again, that's just kind of that was Albert. Just kind of like, well, maybe this is what he is.
I know. I'm just
yeah. No, right. So the idea of Bob's like the evil that men do, then yeah, I agree. Like Judy is kind of like, it's her grief and anguish, but it's also like her guilt too. Like, she's obviously, and that's a clear in Fire Walk too, that there's something not right about Leland and her daughter, and she's just kind of got the earmuffs on or whatever, and not paying attention.
But I just don't feel like Judy's there. They weren't thinking about that then, but even in retrospect, I don't think they've set it up that way, because if it was, then the whole point is Judy explodes out of this box, right? Judy wouldn't be in Sarah Palmer and then just go to New York and blow the box open to kill this couple. I know Fear and Love open the doors, but I don't think she just shows up in New York to just, take out this naked couple. I think when she gets out, then she's loose, Yeah. Where's she gonna go?
Yeah, exactly.
Your takeaway from season 3. Do you feel like at this moment, do you think we're done, or do you think there's gonna be something else eventually?
I think that we're done. I think this was Lynch and Frost in the twilight of their years, and they just spent the last 4 or 5 years putting this all together. And I think that, but like you said, like never say never. Mm-hmm. I'm happy with it being over. I think that they gave people enough to chew on for another 25 years, and especially with the context that's in the books and how that kind of stuff connects. And I think that if they continue, like with Lynch, if Lynch comes back to do something, what I think is going to happen is a Fire Walk with Me type movie about Carrie Page.
I think that it's going to be a Showtime, either, just made for TV movie, or they're just going to do like 4 episodes, just something, small.
Yeah.
But then again, remember, season 3 was only supposed to be 9.
Right. Yeah.
And then it got doubled. And I was thinking, what on earth? What they do? Write more of the script? And it just seems like they just took the 9 and stretched it out to 18. Because there's so many scenes that like on page are probably like this.
Yeah.
But then it's played out, with like him eating his chocolate cake for like 10 minutes,
Yeah, exactly.
When I saw the ending of season 3, I thought, there's no way they're going to just leave it like this. Because the whole point, I thought, was, well, we're not going to leave you with a giant cliffhanger this time.
Me too. That's what I thought too. I was super pissed when it was over.
I don't know if I was angry, but I was just like, well, obviously this is setting us up for another continuation, because it seemed like if this was a one and done, a limited series, then you don't quite end it with a giant cliffhanger. And then of course when you think about it, you go, well, maybe it's not a cliffhanger. You know, if like some of your theories are that, you know, Carrie screaming, you know, the explosion of light is sort of metaphorical for the eventual taking out of Judy that's going to happen. That Laura will win in the end.
That's, you know, yeah, basically. So that the Arbok theory is that, you know, the golden orb is the concentrated good corn, that, you know, the scream is like, you know, basically blowing Judy up, basically.
Right. And they're even tricky with that. And I don't know if you touched on this in one of your other videos, but what's really strange is when the whole fireman giant, you know, the orb thing, when they send the orb into the screen and the orb is moving towards the US, right? And we're all thinking it's going to Washington State, right?
Yeah.
Where it fades out, right where it fades out, is right when the orb is passing Odessa, Texas.
Oh.
So even they cleverly did it in a way so you think, well, maybe they didn't create Laura. Maybe the orb coming out of the giant was her flying out of the Red Room and being sent to Odessa, Texas. As opposed,
okay.
As opposed to, because people are like, well, wait a minute, is this like midichlorians? Did David Lynch just tell us that Laura Palmer is the Anakin Skywalker, Jesus Christ of this series? And I don't, and that's the way it feels. But then when you look into it, you go, well, maybe he didn't birth her. Maybe he just protected her by sending her somewhere else, you know, which you get into the video. But it's weird how they fade out. So again, it's up to your interpretation where the ball goes. Does it go to Washington or does it go to Odessa, Texas?
Yeah, I actually, I haven't put this in a video yet. I don't know if I'm going to or not, but like my first reaction, and I don't think that it's, I don't know. I think that the orb went to the desert. I think the frog moth thing.
You think that's Laura?
Yeah, basically. I mean, look, obviously based on Frost's comments and context and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm 75% sure that there was supposed to be many frog moths, and those are the eggs that Judy pukes out with Bob, and that those go into people. And like you said, they're either beacons or just some, I think Mark Frost in an interview said that it's representative of the darkness that's in all of us or whatever, or something like that. And, you know, but you know, this is so you have Sarah Palmer in the desert, who's a, you know, young girl going through puberty. And then you've got the fireman or the giant who creates this golden orb. The orb gets sent out, and like you said, it's flying over the United States somewhere. And the next shot is the rock or the egg or the seed. So the fireman creates Laura, sends it to Earth. Literally the next shot is that rock or seed or whatever that the frog moth breaks out of. And then it crawls something ugly and scary that goes into a young girl going through puberty, which was an orb, like an egg. So I think that there's, again, I think those frog moth things are bad. I think that was the intention. However, how all that stuff was set up, and metaphorically speaking of puberty, I mean, she is Laura's mother, and you know that going through puberty is scary and ugly and gross, and we just saw the shot before was a golden orb. So basically I can make a strong argument that Laura goes inside, that Laura, so Judy hasn't always been inside Sarah, but Laura has, basically. I guess. But my opinion changes every time I watch it. So,
but you know what though? When you first see it, I remember that night doing an instant reaction video, going, "Is that Laura? Did Lynch literally just turn Laura Palmer into a huge bug, or what? You know?" And I think just to rationalize for ourselves, we were thinking, oh, it's got to be something for later, and something. I don't know what. Because obviously we hadn't seen episode 18 yet, but it was. I mean, it's a strange moment, and they leave like everything. See, I think that's the difference between Lynch now versus 1990. Because if you go back and watch Blue Velvet in '86,
yeah,
there's surrealism in it, but it's a very tight story, and you can pretty much tell that Lynch is dotting his I's and crossing his T's. I mean, there's not a lot to wonder about in Blue Velvet. It's a wondrous movie, but it's not. You're not sitting there puzzling over theories like Lost Highway or Mulholland Drive, or it's very linear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Twin Peaks season 1 and season 2, same thing. There's realism and surrealism, but the surrealism is things that you can more or less come to your own interpretations of, but it's pretty much linear. Fire Walk with Me was the beginning of where he was going to go, to the point where there's the dual stories, right? I mean, like the first story with the Teresa Banks and Laura Palmer, that makes sense. But then when you get to Lost Highway, it becomes what's his name? Who's the Bill Pullman and then Balthazar Getty? You got the two stories. Mulholland Drive, Betty and Diane, right? It becomes these two stories. So in a way, I think that like if they had done season 3 in 1991, like they were hoping to, this is not what season 3 would have been in 1991. This is season 3 after 25 years of Lynch doing Inland Empire and things like that. So in a way, it's like it's Twin Peaks. Yes, there's Twin Peaks elements to it, but it's obviously by a filmmaker today. He's an artist working today. He didn't try to do what Spielberg did with the last Indiana Jones movie and try to recreate something when he's already in his mind moved past all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what I was saying, like, so everything's linear up to a certain point in his filmography. Obviously I know Eraserhead, but when you look at Elephant Man, Doom, Blue Velvet, it's Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart's very linear as well. But when you get to season 3, like almost the entire thing is open to interpretation. Like everything. Maybe not Truman's wife coming in and screaming at him, but almost. I mean, so much. You're even looking at like the flipping around of the extras in the diner. Yeah. Right? Like every little thing is like is open to interpretation. That is it. I know this is maybe the wrong word for it, but that is an insane way to work as an artist, to just have everything open to interpretation. So like, I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why the new stuff is so divisive. And, I know people that absolutely love the old show, but could not stand the new one. And I was like, well, I get why you feel that way. I'm like, but to me, this is all a natural extension, like what you were just talking about. Fire Walk with Me was actually the first movie that, like you said, like that he kind of started doing like that stuff where like nonlinear elements and or Dream Within a Dream, or and then Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive and then Inland Empire, and then I was like, they're like, man, I just hated the new Twin Peaks. I'm like, have you seen anything he's done in the last 20 years? Like, I mean, it's definitely different than Inland Empire, I guess, but like to me, it seems kind of the natural extension of where, and actually that's, I mean, I'm not any kind of like expert or anything, but when they, 5 years ago or whatever, whenever they started talking about doing more Twin Peaks, I was like, I don't care. It's going to be sweet. Like, even if he gets I was expecting the Inland Empire handy cam shots, it just like camcorder footage of Cooper in the red room. And I was expecting something super abstract and completely unpalatable and nothing like what it ended up. But the fact that it came out and it's not for your casual viewer, and it's definitely tests your patience and all kinds of stuff. And
that was my thing was at before it even aired. I thought, again, like you saw those Entertainment Weekly covers and all that, right? I thought, well, there's got to be an entry point to the show so that the new viewers can come in. And I thought, well, there's got to be a reason why they're dropping 4 episodes the first night. And my feeling was Cooper's out of the red room by the end of the 4th episode. I thought that's why we're going to drop 4 in one night and just give us a big cliffhanger for the next time. And I thought maybe there would be like some mystery that would happen, and then like it would lead them to go, oh, Agent Cooper's in the red room, let's get him out, and right.
Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't do that, but from the first 5 minutes of the show, I remember just sitting there going, Frost and Lynch, they don't give a shit, do they? Like, just beginning with the Giant talking to Cooper says right there, new viewers, not welcome.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, I know there were probably new viewers that liked it, blah, 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 blah. But it's just, for the most part, the general person sitting down going, oh, I'm interested in this new Twin Peaks. I'm excited for Twin Peaks coming back. And they caught up on Netflix and this and then they sit down. This isn't like the casual fan Twin Peaks. And this isn't even like someone who binge watches it for 3 weeks and then watches it. This literally, people hate when I say this kind of stuff, but I think you need to have at least 5 to 10 years in between seeing the original shows and this incarnation to truly understand what they were going for, is that passage of time in between.
Yeah. I agree. I mean,
but I mean, when you first saw that first scene, weren't you like, oh my God, like they're doing this for the hardcore fans. They're not making this for anyone else.
Yeah, basically I was like, well, twofold. So again, multi-pronged thing. So one, like you said, it's these guys are older. This is 30 years later. Like, this is really about being, passage of time. Like I said, I had 20 years to chew on the cliffhanger of the original show and Fire Walk With Me and all that. But 2, like I said, I think the story is super dense and weird because they want something for people to be able to unpack for several years. But yeah, in general, yeah. Like I said, I had friends that watch it just like, I have no idea what's going on. And it was like exactly. The first episode, people are like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, well, I get it, but I don't know if I explain it to you, like if it's going to work.
I thought we were going to have a season 2 recreation, which is like people on board, oh, this is really cool as Twin Peaks. And then I thought about episode 6, episode 7, we'd start to see a drop off. And then, by the end 18, only the hardcores would remain. Mm-hmm. Right. But I saw the casual viewers jumping off in the first 2 hours on Twitter. People were like, I'm out of here. And it was like so weird to see season 2 compacted into 2 hours before they even dropped 3 and 4 that night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the passage of time, I mean, this is something that, you talk about Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire, and you're like, well, have you seen what Lynch has done in the last 20 years? In between those, he made The Straight Story. Right. which is one of the greatest movies ever made, I feel. And it's so sweet and it's so linear. And so it shows you that Lynch can do it if he wants to.
Yeah.
It's not that he can't. It's not like he's an artist who's like I mentioned Spielberg and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The thing was that he had done Schindler's List and Munich and all these things, right? So by the time he got back to doing Indiana Jones, he couldn't go there anymore because he's already gone into all this adult material that he can't go back to the the Peter Pan adventure type.
Yeah.
But Lynch can. He can do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
Right. So everything in season 3, when you go, well, why would he do it? It's because it's a choice. It's not that he can't do it. It's a conscious choice as to why he does it. And the other thing is, like, season 1 and season 2, all the actors are intertwined together. They're always in scenes together. In season 3, it was like every actor was more or less kept apart from the others.
Yeah.
And one, I think it was to create get another feeling of disconnect. But I also think it was done so that if somebody did like drop any spoilers, it wouldn't ruin the whole series. It would only ruin their scene.
Right.
You know? So I think it was an attempt to cover their ass in all areas. But of course, the funny thing about that is then they shoot the finale of the show in front of an entire neighborhood of people.
Right. Yeah.
So, which they obviously could have easily pushed the crowd back so they didn't see anything. But no, they were right there during the whole thing. So
yeah.
So it's so strange to keep the mystery alive, and yet let's just shoot the most crucial thing of the show like right in front of everybody too. It's almost like, well, they won't believe they saw the ending of the show.
Well, yeah, I think and it's kind of like mundane, right? Like I think that's one thing. I tried to stay away from spoilers and this and that, but like I did hear, Kyle MacLachlan and Cheryl Lee are at the Mary Reber house or whatever. I didn't know her name meant, but yeah, the Palmer house. So, and I just was just like, okay, like, so this is some point Cooper brings back the, it could be a dream. It could, Cheryl Lee's there. So maybe, I never thought about.
But the lighting looked red. So we all thought at the time, because there was always this rumor that there was going to be a second cousin that with red hair.
Oh.
Right. Huh. So I just assumed maybe Cooper had to get the other cousin, that looks like Cheryl Lee and bring her there and something, obviously that was not the case, but the lighting made her hair look red.
Yeah.
That's where we were drawn to.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't hear that for sure.
Season 3, Cheryl Lee was going to come back with red hair as a second cousin, presumably to be killed again.
Wow. Yeah, I'm surprised that they kind of like you said. I was totally expecting another mystery or tragedy. So, but they did that though, kind of. So the way I kind of look at this stuff is like, you've got your Cooper in the Red Room story and Laura, and that kind of bookends everything. And in between, I feel like you've got Dougie, Twin Peaks, and Mr. C's story, basically. Vegas, the town of Twin Peaks, and wherever Mr. C's at. And like with Twin Peaks storyline and Hawk and the diary pages and all that, it just feels like we just got dropped into, a couple weeks of time. So if you think about, who killed Laura Palmer? Laura Palmer's a big tragedy, right? But like, you got that little kid being killed in the car accident, and then you've got this Billy character that's running around, and you've got the drugs, and it sounds like the Renaults are still running the Roadhouse, and they're running girls out of the Roadhouse still, maybe. And it feels like if they had taken the time to, I don't think they wanted to, but it feels like we're in the middle of a show that we never saw the beginning of and we never saw the end of. It feels like that if the Twin Peaks story would have continued, Andy would have found the guy at 4:30, and they would have, they would have tracked down the guy that killed the little kid, and that, eventually Bobby would find out why the kid's sick in the car, or, so it feels like there's just tragedy everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, the doppelganger being out almost is like the whole world's falling apart, right?
Yes.
I remember saying to Sabrina Sutherland, this doesn't feel like Twin Peaks season 3. This feels like Twin Peaks season 25.
Yes. Yeah.
We just didn't see the in-between.
Yes. And not only do we not see the in-between, I feel like this is season 25 of Twin Peaks that we've just been dropped into for a minute. or for a few episodes, and then we're gone. And I feel like that, especially the Twin Peaks stuff, is definitely that way, I think.
The one thing that Lynch may need to work on is not being so anticlimactic in terms of not so much the ending, but when Cooper's in the Red Room in season 2, we get this big buildup to like Wyndham Earl and all that, and then they confront each other, and then it's like, "Give me your soul, I will." Over. Mr. C, this big buildup, 18 episodes, and then he gets into the sheriff's station, and then get shot by Lucy, and that's the end. Like it's so. Like you're just waiting for something epic to happen. I keep saying that, like Lord of the Rings. You talk about how it's a show, that talks about good and evil. You keep waiting for some huge Lord of the Rings type battle to like happen between the lodges or something, and it's always just goes out with a whimper.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like Mr. C. I mean, I don't know. Every time I remember when he first arrives at the sheriff's station, I remember being so tense watching that. Like, oh my God, what is going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, oh, he gets shot, and then the ball comes out of him, and off we go. So I don't know. I just felt like that was a little anticlimactic for such a huge, which is supposed to be the representation of evil.
Right. I don't disagree. I think that I don't know. The problem is like my excuse for that is that, well, because this is really about Judy, like this hidden narrative of Judy and finding Laura and the Richard and Linda and all that stuff, and that they just kind of wrapped it up a little too quick. I don't know, but that's the thing. It's like, okay, so if this isn't about Bob and Mr. C, and it's really about Judy, and it's a hidden narrative type thing or subverted thing, it's like, yeah, but even that's still all loose and up for interpretation. So it's still a whimper kind of as well, So I mean, I definitely understand. I have friends that were with the whole show, and the Freddie Glove thing, they're just like, nope, I'm done. And I'm like, I got theories about the Freddie Glove thing, but whatever. I definitely understand that. It definitely felt anticlimactic. I was expecting some sort of duel or something.
I mean, if you watch the making of, I mean, Lynch even says he didn't even know what he was going to be doing like 2 days before he shot that scene. So that was something he came up with there. I mean, I just think that I mentioned this to Jake Wardle, who plays Freddy, right? I said, this is what I thought. Now, this doesn't mean that this is the way it should be, but this is the way I thought. I thought that since the woodsmen were crushing people's heads, and there were all these people in the room in the sheriff's station, I thought the woodsmen operating on Mr. C were going to turn and start attacking all of them in the room, and that Freddy was going to have to start killing them with his glove because he had he had the power like He-Man, and then that would leave Cooper to fight Bob. And Jake goes, that would have been brilliant. But obviously we didn't get that. But I mean, it just seems like the pieces are all there to have some. I mean, since the Woodsmen, we've seen them already attack people in this show,
right? Multiple
times. That you just think that we have all those people there. That's a lot of victims. They could have just turned them in no, So yeah, I just sometimes I just feel like. And then some people tell me, oh, no, Lynch being anticlimactic is purposeful. And I believe it is. But I just wish that he wouldn't mind going back. I think Dune put such a bad taste in his mouth that he doesn't want to go back to Paul Atreides versus Sting.
Right.
I don't think he wants to go back to that kind of thing. So he's like, what can I do to subvert everything? And if there is a flaw in season 3, I know there's people that say season 3 is just a complete masterpiece whatsoever. Is that it's okay to subvert ideas, but sometimes it's okay to give us the goods.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think he delivers the goods in a way we didn't expect. And I like that. But sometimes I feel like you said, sometimes it feels like they're trolling us. Like, well, you want this, we're not even gonna give you that, and so sometimes I feel like it's okay to fan service is not necessarily a bad thing if it's done for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I think people would have forgiven the whole Dougie subplot, the length of the Dougie subplot, is if when we got Cooper back, if Cooper was just the most badass we've ever seen Agent Cooper. Like there's that moment where he walks down the red room and he flutters his hands and the curtains go, right? If we saw something like that for like 2 hours, I think people would have forgiven a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think that once we got Cooper back, we still didn't get Cooper back.
No, we didn't.
And then everyone's like, oh, he turned into Richard. Well, she calls him Richard, but I mean, he never accepts himself as Richard. He never says my name is Richard. He goes, Richard? Like, what the hell?
Right.
And so my feeling is that whole second half of 18 is Cooper was always Cooper in denial of his other half. The doppelganger is the evil half. And Richard, if there is a Richard, whatever, it's Cooper embracing the good and the bad side of himself. So he feels more fleshed out, more three-dimensional. If that, I mean, who knows? I mean, could be open to anything, but he never accepts his name as Richard. He never introduces himself as Richard. He looks puzzled when he's reading Richard.
He introduces himself to Mary Reber as Special Agent Dale Cooper. Like, he still knows his name up till the end. Like, he's still Dale Cooper. I just think, there's a combination of stuff. I like that idea that he's embraced both sides or whatever. But the other thing is, I kind of think that what was Dougie, meaning like his innocence, his goodness or whatever, like he gave that back again to Dougie, So he created another Dougie for the Vegas family, for Naomi Watts and Sonny Jim. So I think that he lost. I think that he was together for a minute, but that he lost a little bit of that. So I love hot coffee, or I love coffee stuff, and he gave all that back so that Sonny Jim could have a dad moving forward, and that's why basically after the Red Room and crossing over in the car with Diane and stuff, that he and then especially when he gets to like Judy's, like the diner, like he doesn't ask for coffee, he doesn't smile, he's very like, he basically doesn't smile from moving forward, or after he gives Mike some of his hair and make the seed and whatever. It's, I don't know, I mean, who knows, there could be multiple reasons why, quote unquote, Richard is the way that he is, but yeah, he's definitely different or changed or something. I mean, when they go to Odessa, he's a different person, but he's still Dale Cooper because he still calls himself by that name. Everyone talks about how this is an 18-hour movie, and it totally is. And I've done all 18 hours in one day and watched it like a movie. And if you can get away with it, I would recommend it, because it just feels really good. Feels like there's more of a flow. But I do like the fact that each episode was an episode and it ended with a musical act. And I liked the Mr. C and Judy and Ed and Norma are like my favorite. That was the greatest moment. Episode 8 was the greatest TV viewing experience I've probably ever had. I knew that there was, I think it was Peter Deming or someone tweeted out or went on the internet and was like, hey, part 8's going to be amazing. And I remember, like, I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if it was like some Eraserhead type stuff where like, you know, like it's really weird and experimental, and that's exactly what happened. And I was smiling the whole time. I thought it was amazing. I had it up super loud. I was just soaking it all in.
I was wondering if like maybe 18 was going to be going back to that.
Yeah,
but it literally was like the, you know, the holding place in between because it's right dead center of it. But yeah, you know, eight is so different than anything else in Twin Peaks, and yet I was excited because we were going to be exploring that whole atomic bomb thing that has been discussed for, you know, since Fire Walk with Me came out. You know, that was going to be something they did. So sorry guys, Mr. C is just being really cranky. I'm doing everything I can. My wife's doing errands right now, so unfortunately he's not able to be watched by someone else. So I apologize, Jeremiah. I apologize. It's not usually this loud around here right now, but hopefully the viewers will be kind and not be too hard. He's just really tired. He hasn't taken a big nap today, I guess. So I mean, your videos, do you have? I mean, are you just coming up with a concept for your next video, or do you have like a game plan of like where you're going?
Yeah. So I'm, you know, I'm playing the long game here. I'm not really expecting a lot of followers right away or whatever. I didn't even know how this was going to go. But one of the reasons that it took so long is everything's mapped out. So I'm trying to not tell people what I'm up to, because people that do subscribe and do like the videos, a little element of surprise, like, oh, what's the next one going to be? But I will say that like I'm basically writing a book like one chapter at a time. So I know it might seem kind of random being like The Ring and then Jeffries and now Laura, but I have a larger concept in mind. And this is not the videos that you've seen, the actual episodes. There's a finite number of those. And I won't tell you how many, but there's not going to be a ton. But I would say over the next year or two, I'm going to be kind of like putting them. So that, for example, The Ring is a good way. It's like it's an object and it's supernatural and it's a ring. So there's a circle, and I'm trying to introduce the show. Like, hey, let's like zoom in on this object, and it kind of like the show's all got the complete circle theme, and you know we can introduce Fire Walk with Me and yada yada yada. So I'm basically writing a book, like what I think about Twin Peaks, and I'm just doing it like one chapter at a time. So it's going to be these I'm trying to keep them short.
When is episode 4 coming out? I keep getting like bothered about that. Every time I share one of your videos, someone responds, "When's 4 coming out?"
Oh man, I just put up 3 last week. It's only been up a week, so it's true. It's great. Like the comments I do get, people really like them, and people are bugging me. So I am I'm almost done writing 4. So I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm basically doing them as fast as I can. So I got a job and a family and all this stuff, and I just try to, you know, and you know how it is, like when you're editing or whatever, it's like it's hard to find. I got to get in the zone. I got to have some quiet time. I got to, you know, so. But then I'm working on the graphics too. That was the thing. So the Ring and Jeffries were basically written. Then the Talk About Judy, the film festival thing happened. So I did that one. So as soon as that was done, I already had the first 2 written. So it was instantly like starting to edit and all that stuff. But the Laura episode was tough because, you know, the Ring is like something small, and Jeffries is kind of a small character, right? But Laura like sums up the whole show. So I had to like zoom out, and so basically I spent a month writing Laura, or a month writing episode 3, which is Laura, a month to do the edit, and then another month to do all the graphics. So Laura, actually, the one I just finished is took me 3 months. Now, episode 4 is not going to take that long because I've been writing that one off and on throughout. So I'm almost done writing that one, and but I got some fun stuff in mind coming out soon. So you might not get episode 4 till New Year's or something, but I've got a couple things coming down the pipe.
Will you please do an entire episode about the pine weasel?
The pine weasel? Oh man.
Help legitimize some of these concepts that people seem to just ape on all the time. People make fun of that pine weasel thing, going, "That's stupid. That's horrible. What's that doing here?" And I go, those scenes are very funny. They're very cleverly written. The actors are great. Yeah, it doesn't fit in with, the larger mystery of stuff, but they're not bad scenes. I mean, the same thing with season 3. Anybody goes, "Well, I don't like this. I don't like that." Great. I understand why you may not like it because it may not fit, but they're not bad scenes. Like they're well written. They're well acted. They're well directed. Like nothing in season 3 is badly made. You just may question why it's there at all, but no, I'm really excited. Your videos are fantastic. Everyone comments, of course, on your graphics. I think that's what helps stand them out. Because you're giving us not just Twin Peaks theories, but it almost seems like you're giving us new Twin Peaks material. You know what I mean? Like in some of your transitions and push-ins, and you're taking us into your theory by taking us into the world of Twin Peaks rather than just presenting your theory.
Yeah, and that I'm glad that you notice, and that's why I can't put one out every couple weeks. So this stuff takes a lot of time, and my original plan was just like, this will be something fun for me to do in my free time, and then I'm going to do this number of episodes and then it'll be done. And my goal is to make something that's going to last. And I'm trying to, my motto is kind of like, keep it, what can we, my hypothesis or my thesis or whatever is, what can we rationally deduce what is going on without getting too crazy. And I want to keep things tight, and I want to use graphics like infographics and things to emphasize my point, because I want people to like go back and freeze frame it, or like I'm speaking pretty fast, but I'm trying to lay down a lot of like observation and this and that, and I want people to be able to like, okay, yeah, this is only 10 minutes long, but I can revisit this, or like, hey, I watched the show, and then I watched this dude's video about The Ring, and then like maybe 5 years later he watches Fire Walk with Me again. It's like, oh yeah, what was the deal with that ring? Like, oh yeah, that video like goes through the book and breaks it all down and whatever, So it's kind of like a reference guide for hardcore fans. It's kind of like,
but they're also like art.
Well,
I know you don't want to say that about yourself, but they're very well made.
I'm trying to do everything under kind of fair use. Like I'm not putting up long extended clips. I'm trying to do short clips and short shots. And, there's a lot of music in there, but it's a lot of that stuff is re-edited by me or transformed or tweaked a little bit. So we'll see. I mean, that could happen any day. Someday somebody could be like, but like I said, I always upload my rough cuts and make sure I got no copyright flags. And if I do, then I go in and change things and try to make it work. And the only reason Twin Peaks is around is because of fans that have kept this alive.
How long does it take you to do one of your narrations?
Actually, that's the easiest thing. So I have to write everything down. So everything is a script, and they're usually, whatever, 6 to 8 double page or double type, double space. So I basically write the script, and as I'm writing, I'm thinking about myself speaking and how I would speak it, kind of thing. And then I just go record it. And there's always a couple lines or a couple sentences here or there. So I write the thing, I'll go record it, and then I'll slap the VO down, the voiceover down, and that's when I start editing clips to it. Then there'll be times where like I'll say something or I've written something, and then when I actually go to pull those clips, I'm like, oh, I said that wrong, or or like that doesn't really work. So there's little pieces I'll go back at the last minute and re-record some stuff, but for the most part, I'd say 90% of it is just me reading my script, and that's the take that ends up in the final video.
Well, I guess it's just me that can't talk then when I do voiceover, because I end up having to go over it again and again and again just to get it.
So here, okay, sorry. So that sounds like I do it. I don't do it all in one take. So I'll say like, Laura Palmer is son and daughter, or the daughter of Leland and Sarah Palmer, and then like maybe I'll trip over Palmer. So I'll just record it. So like let's say it's a 15-minute video. I'll record for 45 minutes to an hour.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah. I'll sit there and like, I'll read one sentence. If I don't like it, I'll instantly reread it. And then I just take all that audio and like, just pull out the good stuff. So it's not like I nail it in one take. It's that I do one recording session that's usually about a half an hour to 45 minutes. And I get 90% of it out of that. So I'll read something and like, try it a little higher, try it a little lower. And I just am constantly like, then if I'm happy with that sentence, I move on to the next one, but I'm getting good at it. So it's only takes about half hour, 45 minutes to do it. But.
And right now you have about 3 hours of material on there already, which is a lot for just starting in June, considering how the Laura Palmer one took 3 months to do.
Yeah. So 2 of them, something else I'm kind of doing, because I'm really into music and sound and ambient noise. So 2 of those videos, I'm pulling, I'm cutting loops either from the menus or the Monica Bellucci Dream Loop. So I'm doing these half-hour ambient loops for people that either want a screensaver or just want to kind of zone out and listen to that machine cranking sound. And I'm probably going to do a 30-minute electricity loop, the power line. So that's kind of, I don't want to call it filler, but the episodes are the main focus. So I've done 3 of those, and those are about 10 or 15 minutes a piece. And then talk about Judy. So yeah, I've got a good, it's over an hour for sure. And then I'll be doing those loops. Like as I'm editing, I'll find something cool. Like, oh, there's that curtains with that cool whoosh sound. And like, maybe I'll cut a loop of that and I'll loop it and put that up and see if people like that stuff. I like that stuff, but that's not for everybody.
Well, I like on the Blu-ray set, of the original series, they had this kind of where they show all the woods, and then where they show the red room, and it was like just a couple minutes of just music. It was that was really pretty.
Every that entire mystery set is great. Every disc has its own, the Fire Walk With Me disc is the Owl Cave Ring montage. Yeah. And the early stuff's like the trees or cherry pie or whatever.
And the last disc even has an extra shot from the season 2 finale they didn't use. They show Bob and the little man in the red room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I did have to kind of bring this full circle again about so I've been doing some writing, and I've been thinking a lot about Josie, and the whole, I know you do, but the Frank Silva said that Josie was supposed to be in that final episode, and people were like, what? And they did some research, and Richard Bamer's picture, but basically they were in that final episode, they were going to have Joan Chen stunt double hanging in and out of the curtains. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So I read that stuff a few years ago, but I just recently reread all that stuff, and I love that. That's a great story, and in my mind, I'm always, even though I know it's not there, I'm still, every time I watch the final episode, I'm always looking for.
Did you read the script for the final episode? I mean, thank goodness that Lynch went in there and changed a lot of it, because I mean, Wyndham Earl like attempts to rape Annie. I mean, it's just like, that's just so not what we want to see in the final episode of Twin Peaks, you know?
Yeah.
So
that'd be really bad.
Yeah. So, well, there's so much we can talk about, but unfortunately, Mr. C has been telling me that it's been time to wrap this up for a while. So I'm gonna mute my mic. Let people know where they can find you on social media.
TakeTheRing.com will take you to the YouTube channel directly, and I am Take the Ring 430 at everywhere else. So Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is Take the Ring 430.
All right, everybody, you know where to find me. Look all the links down below. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Jeremiah, for being so nice and patient. Really appreciate you.
No problem.
All right, hopefully you'll come back when it's much more quieter. All right, everybody, have a wonderful night. We'll talk soon. Take it easy. Take care. Bye-bye.